the power of choice, Aarti, is now shifting from organizations to candidates. Everyone is talking about how the talent market has become more candidate driven and how the right candidate, on average, already has a job offer as they consider more opportunities. So, Aarti, do you see a similar trend in your industry? And what are the other current challenges you see in attracting talent in your sector and for your organization as well?
You worded it absolutely perfectly, Yasmin. And the talent landscape today, it's multifaceted and also unprecedented. And it's creating the kind of challenges that we have today, which are interesting, which will change the face of talent tomorrow and probably are, posing a lot of challenge in front of the HR leaders to build the employee value proposition. And yes, our industry is also going through with multiple dynamisms, with multiple changes that are happening across, especially globalization, the regulatory landscape are continuously throwing new challenges in front of us, all the HR leaders. And considering the way the trends are changing, the role of HR function and people experience function is continuously changing, and especially in today's times. The focus is more on broader, human resource issues. It's not only what we focused on earlier, like productivity, attrition, retention, training hours. It's more about, it's much broader. And the Indian IT sector, it's at the edge of another revolution.
Yeah.
The post-pandemic era, with so many things coming up, with again power of choice shifting, the shaping of the future of work will become the ask from the new leadership. And in my view, organizations, not just IT organizations, but all the organizations will need to create an employee value proposition, which is very employee specific, at the same time, organization specific. Same things will not work anymore. Yeah, I need to know as an HR leader for my organization, knowing my culture, my needs of the organization, what is my employee value proposition? What is the unique thing that I'm offering? Capgemini as an organization has received many awards, quite a few recognitions in various forms around our commitment of building inclusive policies, the kind of work culture that we have built, and our commitment to be responsible towards our employees, towards our society, towards our environment, towards employee diversity, towards generational diversity, work-life flexibility, career mentoring, women in power. I think our organization is one of the best places to work, learn, and exceed your own expectations with yourself. So with these kind of shifts, I think what I would summarize is it's the value proposition that you have to deal with to really look at these challenges. And for Capgemini, I would say our value proposition is continuous learning, inclusive policies, happy place to work in, a very, very growing work culture, very, very diverse work culture, very, very responsible work culture.
Great, thanks. Thanks for sharing that, Aarti. I think I do agree. The IT industry was one of the few industries that actually boomed during the pandemic. Workload went double. And I think organizations who realized that the focus has to shift just from business continuity to people. And how do you manage your people better in times of crisis, I think. And as you said, your employee value proposition at times like this makes a lot of difference at how employees look at you as an employer. And Capgemini is doing a great job. And we've been reading about how the kind of policies you have come up with. And I think it's setting an example for others to follow, especially the IT industry. But Aarti, we know that the past 1.5 years, we've seen a different trend here coming across. India was one of the economies that actually experienced the big quit, and almost no industry was left untouched. When we talk about your industry, the IT industry, how grave was that here, and how did you approach this crisis? And also, when we talk about the great attraction that has been the talk of the town this year specifically, how did you turn the challenge of the great resignation into the great attraction, especially at Capgemini?
You're right. And this phenomenon, the big quit, actually was the talk of the industry for quite some time. And I think all industries got affected by it, including the industry that I am in. IT and services organizations were affected deeply. Also, organizations with the larger employee base, larger headcount, of course, saw that kind of shift, which was never seen before. Now, the reason for this was, again, because of the last few years, people have reshifted their priorities. People want more from what they're doing. They want a sense of belonging. They want a sense of pride associated with the place that they want to work in. So just offering, maybe promotions or money or just a good work environment is not enough. What you need to worry about is, how can we create better work-life balance? How can we focus on the well-being of our employees? How can we create the pride associated with the organization within the employees? And I think I just read a recent study by Michael Page, where people do leave for salary and bonuses in current times, and people are leaving. I do see some of my exit reports that there are reasons around salaries and compensation, but many of those, almost more than 60% of those, were okay to accept lesser money if they were getting better life balance, work-life balance, and better sense of belongingness and well-being with the organization. And it says it all, right? What is, as I said, when you're saying power of choice is shifting, it's also the priorities of employees which are shifting. And if organizations don't adapt to what people want, they will be left, behind from the evolution, which is extremely fast evolution.
Okay.
And Capgemini, I think happiness and well-being of all our employees and the loved ones is a key priority. And we have several initiatives to create a self-help space, an organization which is, helping, a manager help space. And all colleagues come together to create that kind of work culture. I'm also particularly very proud of the message that we gave out in difficult times when COVID was at peak and we were seeing a lot of struggle around us. The way we managed everything and the well-being of our employees, that creates a sense of pride in me. And I think it has created a lot of belonging and brought in a sense of belonging in the employees as well.
Absolutely. Great thoughts again, Aarti. Aarti, you spoke a lot about, how changing priorities of employees has made organizations kind of wake up. It's been a wake-up call for organizations. At Capgemini too, I'm sure you went into a remote working model first, then maybe shifted to a hybrid working model. And now maybe there's this whole question about how many people are coming back to office. And as you said, a lot of reports have pointed out that employees want flexibility, they want work-life integration, they want their well-being. So how has Capgemini kept up with that? How has it been for you managing a workforce which has been hybrid, which has been remote at times, and some of them have been coming to office? What has changed for you? Have you reprioritized your policies for them in that case?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, the talent landscape is changing. And when you're talking about the talent landscape, it includes the way of working, the working models, the way people are coming to the organization. And as you rightly said, we were all working from home. And from there, we realized that, for a certain period of time, it was fine and we could manage everything together, marvelously so. But we are, after all, social beings. Yeah, there is a need of creating that social culture. There is need of having that cultural fabric of an organization. And then we move to hybrid model like any other company. And we are working towards our employees so that they can come back to office. There is an ecosystem which is being created, which is friendly, which is flexible, which creates the want to be in office, so that we can create the culture which was existing before and probably evolve the culture that needs to be there for the future. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's, a large organization like us, when you have to manage a cultural change or when you have to bring about a change, of course, works through policies, some of the practices, some of the leadership behaviors. And, so the policies definitely have been shifted to make them more flexible. How can they be more hybrid friendly? How can we create, work-life balance in respect to the hybrid working model? How can we have those leaders who are reflecting the behaviors where people would want to come to work? And how can we be the role models for them so that they would want to work in a work model, which is the need for today?
Exactly. I think it's all about, it says a lot about how an organization functions, how the leadership functions. Though it is a top-down approach, at times you become role models, but you do listen to what your employees want. As you very rightly said, it is about figuring out where they want to work from, what they want to work on, whom they want to work with, understanding their needs and aligning it with the organization goals. Actually, that's very, very important. So thanks for sharing that. Also, Aarti, we've seen that a lot of churn out happens, especially in the first 6 months of a candidate joining the organization. Why do you think, and what do you think has been a challenge in retaining talent, especially in these first few months? And but do you think onboarding is a challenge? What is it that happens? What goes wrong there?
It's one of the fallouts of probably not having that social fabric of the organization, Yasmin. You're very right. There is an infancy attrition which is increasing all across the industry.
Mm.
And because earlier it used to be like we would join the organization day one, we're meeting friends, we're meeting colleagues, there's excitement, there's a new workplace, which does not exist today. And because of which the bonding does not come through. And that's why probably leaders today and the experts in the industry today want a hybrid working model, so that while we create that work-life balance for our employees, align organization objectives with their shifting priorities, we also preserve the culture of the organization. Mm-hmm. Now, employee churn rate, which is infancy churn rate, it impacts productivity for sure. Yeah, business performance as well. There is a revenue leakage if you start losing people at an early stage because you've hired them for a reason. It can definitely have a poor effect financially on a company, because there are huge costs associated to recruitment, training, and we know the talent market today. So there are expenses attached to it. And also the high attrition at this stage, it limits the organization, because it is always, your organization is always understaffed, right? And people who are staying with us, they're always burdened and stretching themselves to really make up for that gap, which is being caused because of the infancy attrition. And which is again a vicious cycle, which is leading to other people who would leave, probably because they're not able to find the work-life balance. Yeah. Now, what can help and what has been helping us is a stock of the moments that matter. Yeah. So I understand when we say very clinically employee life cycle, there is something, about moments that matter. And when we say moments that matter are when people they join. So strong onboarding system, not just talking about who's who, just the org chart, but also what we stand for as a company, what we're looking out for, setting expectations with each other, welcoming people to our organization, creating that strong sense of culture through onboarding, also ensuring that the right information is given at that time about what is their benefits package, how what are the practices, what does management stand for, what are the flexible schedules that they can make use of. These are the things that we need to take care of during the onboarding. Apart from that, we also need to see once the employee is onboarded, the other moments that matter are, the pay increase, the growth, the promotion, that they are made special for them. They are done with equity.
Exactly.
Yeah, equal opportunity and equity. How are we creating work-life balance? Are our managers, who are young managers, because of the kind of industry we're working in, are they trained well enough to manage people, somebody else's career?
Exactly.
At the same time, you can't avoid some people leaving, however hard it is, but some employees will leave. And we need to ensure that we take the right inputs when they're leaving, as to why they're leaving, and act on it. Because sometimes exit interview report just becomes a report. and there are no analytics drawn out of it.
Mm.
So every moment that matters for employee can be used for them to create the stickiness and ensure that they start feeling belong to the organization.
Absolutely. I think what I hear from you, and I think I totally agree with you, it all boils down to the culture of the organization. What social fabric are you building? What values are you instilling? What purpose are you giving to the people you're hiring? Are they finding purpose from the day they're joining your organization? I think that's very important. And as you said, relationships at work. How are your managers trained to manage you? What are your growth opportunities? How are you learning to become better at work? I think those are going to be very, very important at the earliest stage of the employee life cycle, as you said. So thanks for sharing that, Aarti. Aarti, you did initially earlier talk about a bit about how your EVP has to have good learning opportunities also for your employees to stick around, to retain them. So how do you see the role of upskilling and building career paths as a talent retention tool, and any learning upskilling initiatives that you can talk about from your organizational perspective that has helped you attract and retain talent?
Absolutely, Yasmin. I think you're touching upon a very, very important point. Um, Growth, upskilling, reskilling, training, building capabilities are as important for an organization as for an employee. And this is a tool which can be used for the benefit of both organization and employees. Now, with the automation coming in, the kind of globalization we have, the kind of moving workforce we have, and it's same in all countries. Yeah, the challenges could be of different magnanimity, or maybe some tweaks here and there. It's the same challenge across the world. This has resulted digitization. This has resulted in the new way of managing our upskilling. The skill needs have completely differed now from what it used to be. The way it's changing is too fast. And not just that, look at what we just spoke about previously, the well-being of people. So how are we creating those interpersonal skills? How are we creating those social skills? How are we training our managers to be able to deal with the workforce of today and tomorrow? Because it's not same as it used to be. How to create the industry knowledge. Organizations, including Capgemini, we are now looking for people who have a good mix of digital skill, technical skill, and soft skill. It's becoming more and more important. So as we are increasing our skill base on these areas, I think what we need to pay attention is to ensure that there is an understanding of skill redundancy in people, in the employees. As an organization, I will create opportunities. I will have tie-up with partners. I will have certifications available for our people. I will ensure that our Gen Y and Gen Z employees understand what it is for them to upskill or reskill, what are the opportunities available for them. But it's also important that employees understand the need for it, because sometimes we see when you provide opportunities, they are not utilized well, and that can result in underskilled workforce. So what we really focus on a lot is to make people understand the importance of training, to make managers understand to give the time off to employees to upskill themselves, because these things matter a lot. While we can create a bouquet of skills and certifications, if we don't have the DNA of the organization as a learning organization, as continuous learning, we will struggle. So I would say for Capgemini, the unique part is that while there is a huge bouquet and huge partnership with many organizations and partners to bring a good skill platform together, it's the awareness that is created amongst employees and their managers on importance of upskilling and reskilling. And there are a lot of things now we are trying to role-based approach rather than grade based. So if you're certified, if you're upskilling yourself, you move faster based on competencies, probably your salary could be linked to it. The equity may come based on that. So we're trying to explore more and more on how to create the organization with a learning culture solely.
And how has it been in the past 2 3 years? Have you seen like an uptick in the kind of initiative employees are taking to upskill themselves? How have they responded to these? Because they also understand that, as you said, skills are getting redundant. You need to future proof yourself to stay relevant and stay in your job. So have you seen a culture, this culture becoming more ingrained, more deep in the past few years?
I wouldn't say past few years, but past 1.5 year, I've seen that coming through the employees. They're demanding more and more certifications. They're more interested in upskilling and reskilling themselves. Of course, the reason I say that, before that, the priorities were different at that point in time. People were probably not prioritizing upskilling at that time. We have gone through a difficult phase, all of us across the world. But post that period has gone down, I see more and more demand from employees and managers coming through. And it's not just for the employability of the employees on their own. It's about the technology that they're working on, the need from the clients, the way we are working. It is imperative that they upskill and reskill themselves. And I'm very happy and glad that the awareness that we are creating with amongst our employees is making them ask for more. And what is happiness for me is that I'm not pushing that you train, but they're asking for more and more training. And that's a happy moment for me.
Exactly. I think it is. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't think the push factor works anyways in learning. It always has to be pull. And my final question for this video interview, Aarti, is have your learning initiatives impacted your retention or attraction and any which way? I don't want numbers, but have you seen some trend coming out of there? Have people come to you said that learning opportunities matter to them when it comes to a career?
Absolutely. I mean, have no doubts about that. As I said, the focus of what we offer to employees has shifted from just monetarily or just the promotion growth to the overall well-being, the holistic well-being of employees. And that has a huge, part played by learning. Just previously to one of your questions, I said how we are really progressing further to make ourselves a continuous learning organization, and that's coming from the different initiatives that employees are appreciating. And learning is not just classroom training. Learning is coaching. Learning is conversation. Learning is reverse mentoring. So many times when I'm doing focus group discussions with the lesser experienced younger generation, I learn so much.
Okay.
So learning is continuous. Now, Yasmin, to be very specific to your question, yes, we have different ways of measuring what employees want, different ways of understanding what employees are liking. And of course, it's a normal practice, which I think will still continue, however traditional it is, that after every program, we take feedback from our employees. If I put all of these things together, I think the appetite is huge. People are loving it. Learning, there is an appetite to learn. I think the right programs need to be provided. You can have a checklist of programs which will not work. If you craft it well, you will have the success.